Welcome, YouTubers, to another episode of Boku no Hero Academy discussion, review, or impression, or however they want to call it. In this episode, we're reviewing episode 5. And now, this episode was a little more slower than the other episodes, I would say. After the last episode, it was continuing like a continuous action-paced episode. This one was more, I would say, an introduction episode. Now, in this episode, it starts off and begins with All Might congratulating Midoriya from passing the entrance exam. And now, I was rooting for Midoriya to pass that entrance exam. I'm hoping all you guys were as well. But we kind of figure right there in the conversation that they both had, All Might was actually, how do I say, he was surprised as well that all the plans that he's making right now is all going faster than what he expected. Midoriya really is like the odd one out, as is to say, because his determination is so strong that everything is going according to his plan. Because through the conversation, you could see that I could say that All Might was actually looking for a successor in the entrance exam, actually, and by finding Midoriya before that, that actually is putting Midoriya right there on top. That he's actually considering, he's glad that he chose Midoriya right there. And in the conversation, he's kind of glad too that he's actually using the properly too. It's not, I wouldn't say property, but like he feels like he's really the right successor. He sees that now because he's saying that in the little reference that he's passing on the torch as he's getting weaker. I'm assuming because it kind of implied right there as if he's dying or something a lot faster too. So that's why he's kind of like hoping that Midoriya will take on the torch of achievement passed on to Midoriya. And that's pretty cool right there in itself. That when you think about that, Midoriya is actually going over 100% of what is expected to be from the hero All Might. And the hero All Might, his top standards are actually really high. And he even sometimes downgrades Midoriya right there in itself. So you know for sure that Midoriya is literally the perfect candidate right there. And they kind of have a little comical sense right there. They're like, oh, the hero All Might, he's here at the beach talking to a random stranger, and I'm guessing that the hero All Might was actually trying to convince everyone there. Oh no, this is just a little kid. He's crazy. He didn't see no one over here. But as the episode continues, we learn that right after the actual entrance exam, we learn a little bit about Tenya Lida. He comes from a prestigious school because he was having a little conversation with Bakuga, and they were kind of arguing because Bakuga comes kind of like from I would say a lower class school, but Tenya Lida comes from another prestigious school. His form, the way he casually presents himself is more like upperclassman. Not at a condescending level, but just that he's very formal and kind of squarish too at the same time because he follows the rules and everything. Unlike Bakuga, who is actually like the complete opposite of him, is rebellious, overbearing, in your face kind of attitude. These two, but it's funny because they both with their both personalities that are very contradicting right there. They actually both made it to the top of the entrance exam. I believe Bakuga was number 1, and Tenya Ida was not number 2. I would say I think it was in 5th place if I remember correctly. But the only reason was because but Tenya Lida was actually saving people at the same time. He wasn't necessarily just only going for the robots, because Bakuga was actually his quirk, it expressed that it's mainly only for attacking, nothing else, absolutely nothing else. It's not meant for rescuing anybody or anything, and that's why he got a high score, because his power is just destruction, explosions. You really can't see nobody with an explosion unless you're trying to stop a brick wall falling on someone, but that's highly the case right there. But as the episode continues, yada yada yada, they're talking, having a normal school conversation. Then comes in the most anticipated character in this series. I personally believe this guy is one of the strongest characters so far in Boku no Hero Academy. His name is Shuta Aizawa, the cram room teacher for the whole class that actually passed. Now his quirk is the reason I say it's the most powerful one is because his quirk actually erases or nullifies. I should say, it's a better term I could say. It nullifies all the other person's quirks by all he has to do is just literally stare at somebody, and that's it. His quirk is that's it. You're no matter what quirk you have. If you're trying to spit out acid, if he just stares at you, you're just literally spitting out spit. Like like that's just a little example of right there. But like I said, this guy is really strong too, as we can see because when he was introduced, like in all shonen characters, he was introduced. How would I say, like as a lazy person. He was sleeping in the hallway, sucking on like a Hawaiian punch of some sort. He comes out of a sleeping bag all nonchalantly. He's kind of like a little bit depressed too. He talks in a monotone as well. He's having the conversation with the kids and says, "Oh, come on, kids. Oh, before I forget, yada yada yada. Put these on. Oh my gosh, this is so boring." Like as if like he's like if this is just like his not a day job, but like as if this is jail. You could say like that's how to me it looked like him. But like in every other, like I said, every other shonen manga, the most strongest person is always portrayed as a very lazy person. But it's kind of weird with the hero All Might. He's kind of uplifting, probably because he's supposed to represent an American style hero. Maybe that's why he's not really, I would say, lazy and laid back. Because I would say most Japanese characters, I would say like most famous ones like Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto, always the I would say not the strongest, I should say. I would say more like the like a like a very high class powerful person. They're always portrayed as like a very very relaxed person around weak people, you could say. And it kind of goes along with his nature too. He actually kind of reminded me of he literally reminded me of Shikamaru. Shikamaru mixed with Kakashi Sensei. That's his person. Like that's how he. It's like a blend right there. Like his attire even looks like a ninja attire as well. When he takes off, I would say when he takes off his like the bandages around his neck and everything, his eyes glow red, like as if he has like the Sharingan or something, and like the bandages around him kind of like envelop you, and that goes along with his quirk walk, like he's actually very like ninja like. It's so hilarious that like I feel like I'm serious that Kishimoto must have been this guy's inspiration. I am not BSing you. Just the way he portrayed himself, even his the way he attacked Midoriya during one of the during the practice physical exams, it just looks like he's a ninja right there. Like for a second there, all I could literally see him holding up like a hand sign and just like talking to him for a second. It's so hilarious. But moving on, because this episode's not really just all about him. It's just focusing that like he's another part of the major characters that the author's actually trying to introduce this. He actually then also kind of, I would say the author is introducing more characters like slowly bit by bit, because the next characters that he introduces is Tsuya Asuya. It's Tsuya Asuya. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or wrong. And she's kind of like a frog woman. Then when we have, of course, Uraraka Ochaka, but that's her full name. Then we got Yugo Iogama. He was actually pretty funny in this episode. Actually in all the previous episodes as well that he came out in. Yugo, his quirk is actually a naval laser, and that's what's hilarious about it, because he implies like as if it like they implied as it's like a really strong quirk, but in reality it's just like a small little laser. But just the way that they represent him as like almost like a flamboyant boy, kind of like downgrades him a little bit, like, oh, hello, merci, this seems so tough right here, like, I'm just like here thinking like, man, this guy's like he's pretty flamboyant in this certain situation. He's a strong one, don't get me wrong. He was passing all the physical tests that I would say aizawa that was kind of like putting down, because in this episode it's also they're trying to explain that when they were in middle school they were not able to use their quirks, but now that they made it to UI, they're actually going to use their quirks to full potential, and they want to see where they're at. They want to see where they could be placed at, how their characteristics also places them with their quirks, which is pretty cool right there in a sense too, because they're kind of characterizing them, see how strong they are, what are their weaknesses, and it's kind of funny too, because how do I say, Midoriya wasn't really like passing none of them. He was failing all. Doesn't matter what it was, running, jumping, like just any part of the physical test. He couldn't use any of his quirks, and he's trying, and and you could tell that every other person were kind of expecting him to actually use the quirk as well, you know, and well, I can't forget of course, you know, there was another person that they also actually introduced, if I remember correctly. Oh, what was it? What was it? uh, there was somebody else. I forgot. But the point is, doesn't matter. There'll be more along the way. But as I was saying, while there was like this one part of the exam, if I remember correctly, Midoriya was actually going to, I would say, use his full potential to work. Like as I previously stated, you know how in the previous episode, when he uses his quirk, he breaks his arm or fracture because he's using it at 100%. So in one of the physical exams that he was taking right there, he was gonna use it, and this was another opening call for the main character. It's another more character progression story part right here as well, because Aizawa was telling Midoriya that you can't always be relying on your power just to break yourself. Your power should be used properly. Like we can tell that you just recently just got this quirk. We can also see the fact that everything that you're doing is kind of like I would say, like he's half-assing it basically. That's what basically Isaac was telling Midoriya, and he was telling use it properly before you hurt yourself, because there's gonna be a certain situation in life that you're gonna have to be using your quirk to your full potential, but you're gonna have to run away or something along the lines of that. And that was a wake up call for him, because think about it, he can't always be damaging himself just to do that, and that's just crazy. And then it's funny because Midoriya also kind of proves him wrong, kind of like a Naruto slash Kakashi Sensei moment right there, because I would say Midoriya kind of like he outsmarts him by saying, instead of using his full arm, he only breaks his middle finger or index finger. I'm sorry, whichever one of the two. I from what I remember, he throws the ball because they're supposed to like launch it with their quirk, launch a ball as far as possible with their own quirk. And when Midoriya threw it, I believe it went all the way to like 705 yards. And Aizawa and including All Might, they were both actually looking at themselves like, holy snap. Once again he proves us wrong, that Midoriya really does stand out amongst the rest of the people. And that's what's pretty interesting in itself, because everybody's quirks, they all know how to properly use it to their full potential. And you could tell Midoriya is kind of like a double-edged sword right there. Like, it's too strong, but yet he learned how to, not learn, I wouldn't say learned, he just kind of proved the teacher that there's always alternative ways that I can do this. I'm not giving up. Like, it's a Naruto moment. It's like, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up to your standards. I'll do this thing my own way. Like, basically, and that's pretty cool in a sense right there. And I can't begin to mention that All Might and Aizawa, they're both really they're both really different. Like, All Might is like that, like I said, like he's that hyperactive, like generous guy, and Aizawa is just that like silent, laid back, in the shadows kind of thing. Like, I'm telling you, like, they're both contradicting each other right there in a sense. They even stated it in the episode as well, that All Might doesn't really get along with him. They're friends, of course, but they just don't really get along right there. And excuse me, and that's what it's actually happening in this episode. But that's it about roughly around this episode. Like, they were just basically just doing a physical exam, showing all their quirks, and which, by the way, it's perfect in a way. I'm telling you, like, it's literally the chunin exams 2.0. I can't stop mentioning that, because it's literally that. It's so in the beginning of the story, introducing all these main characters, and it feels like it's just the tuning exams all over again. I don't know if you guys like I said, if you guys don't see it that way, but I do, and it's pretty funny. But let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this episode. What did you guys think? Did you guys really think that Midoriya was gonna use his full arm right before Aizawa was gonna? He used his own quirk? And what do you guys think about Aizawa? Do you guys really think he's really like this badass character, or do you guys think he's like a weak character too? Because in a sense, he kind of has that's his biggest flaw too, is by erasing other people's quirks. What do you guys think about him? Also, what do you guys think about the contradiction between Aizawa and the hero All Might? What do you guys think about that? But let me know in the comment section below, and if you guys enjoyed my videos, be sure to subscribe down there in the bottom section below as well. And this is Mr. Zen signing out.